Hey, everybody, welcome to Act 3 on CHLY 101.7 FM in wonderful, fabulous, terrific Nanaimo, Vancouver Island, Sunshine Coast. We're really, really glad you tuned into the program today. Today, we're going to talk to Shruti Rumani. I think I pronounced her name right. She's going to correct me if I'm wrong for sure, who is absolutely one of the most wonderful musicians on the planet. And I am ecstatic to have her live with us, or live to Zoom, that is. So you're listening to a Zoom broadcast once again. And just as we know with Zoom, if you hear dogs barking, that's Bobby and Kevin. That's Bobby Wilson and Kevin, my two Jack Russells. And they just love to bark as soon as a leaf drops, or if the postman's walking by, or a little kid, or whatever. You might hear chimes in the background. You might hear sirens. That's all part of the Zoom experience. Welcome to the program, Shruti. I'm so glad you're here, darling. How are you?
Oh my God, I'm so excited to be here. And I'm always so excited to see you because you
It's a
have the
pleasure to
most
see
bubbly
you.
personality.
Oh,
Um,
you're so lovely.
I want to tell the viewers how supportive you've been in my journey. When I just landed up in Nanaimo not knowing anyone, and I had Kathy completely, make me feel warm. And we also did a little thing together before this. So I'm just happy to be doing this again.
We did. We've actually done a couple of things. You were on
Yes, that's true.
my other show, which was called Wise Folks, which aired for quite a long time,
Yes.
both the television and the radio program. And now, of course, we have Act 3. Both the radio and the television program is on its way again. But how I actually met you, which was such a great delight, was at one of our mutual friends was having one of those kind of in-house house
Yes, a
concerts.
Christmas party of sorts.
That's
With
right.
someone. Yeah, that's how it was. Yeah.
And it was, your voice just was so, it resonated with me so well. It caught me off guard. I was so dumbfounded at how beautiful you
It's a
were.
fact that I did not know anyone at that party, and I instantly connected with you, and you came up to me after, and was like, "Oh, I feel good.
Well, and
I
what
know
I
someone."
learned about you was that you've had quite an experience. So you came from India, and then from
Yes.
India you were coming to school here at, I think, Malasapina University, or were you
It's called
VIU?
Vancouver Island now, but yeah,
Ah,
yes, it was Malaspina before I moved here. Yeah, I went to the jazz program there in Nanaimo for 2 years. I was lucky to be able to live on the island. Man, what a life! The quintessential island life. I loved it. And
but you're not with us any longer. You live over on the
yeah, I
mainland
live
now.
in Burnaby. I live in Vancouver mainland now. It's a
So
good experience.
So tell us, like, just to sort of for our listeners to kind of get an idea. You were studying the jazz program. Before that, though, you were in California, weren't you, or somewhere in the States? And you had been doing some music for Disney, right?
Um, Not really. No,
Oh,
actually, I was I was a part of this band called Nuffs. So we did a couple of gigs here and there. And before this, I was like in a conservatory in India where they used to teach European music. It's called KM Conservatory. It's in the south of India. So I had like a little bit of background of Western music. But yeah, I've had the chance to go to places with my band, which has been a blessing, you know. But yeah.
so what kinds of things did you do with your band then? And I don't know why I have
Um,
that Disney thing in my head, because I just remember something about,
I wish though. I mean, Disney's
no
so cool.
kidding, right?
Like,
My
yeah.
apologies to having that error, but even so, it doesn't matter. You're still so talented. You should
I
be a
hope that, you know, that manifests and I end up doing something for Disney one day. Hey, Disney, if you're watching this,
That's right. If you were watching this
watch
on our YouTube
Kathy's show.
broadcast,
She's
you
amazing.
need to know that
You need to
Shruti
know
is
this.
amazing.
I mean, I don't know if you need to know that, but yeah, but well, so my band was a eight-piece a vocal band, and we used to do like jazz covers of popular Indian tunes, um, and some other like four freshmen and stuff like that, like four-part singing and jazz tradition. So that kind of was really interesting because yeah, just hearing harmonies was a completely on that level anyway. Hearing harmonies with that intricacy was like mind blowing and opened up my brain, and I was like, I have to do jazz. I think that's kind
Yeah,
of how it started. But yeah, so
but you
the
almost
band is
have
called
a
Nuffs.
jazz kind of Bollywoody kind of, like, you have created your own style within your music.
Yeah, I I ran half a world away to avoid Bollywood. I'm saying this, I don't know. Will no one hire me if I say this on air? I hope not. But I was an Indian classical musician before I started learning jazz. So I had like an entire background. I practiced for years with my guru, Dr. Ritu Jory. She's an amazing vocalist. So I learned with her for like a good 8 years or so. Did my bachelor's in Indian classical music and then decided to do my bachelor's in jazz. So like it's two cultures just blending together, making a baby in my brain right now.
Well, I have to say, it's such a unique sound, and I think that that a good way to continue with our program. We are going to share a few songs today, but
Hopefully, yeah.
being we're right at the very beginning of our program, let's give some our audience, our listeners, a little taste of some of the grandness of what it is that you do. Would you mind singing your first song for us now?
Yeah, I would absolutely love that. I hope everything goes to plan because we're on a Zoom call apparently, trying to do a little
We're
doot.
working with the technology the way it is, and hopefully it'll be okay. It might not be as clear.
Hopefully, yeah, hopefully it doesn't betray me. I have I've had funny experiences with technology. Sometimes it's just not wanting to be my friend, but hopefully I have a song for you now.
Fingers and toes.
Um,
Without further ado, Shruti Rumani.
Thank you so much, Kathy. Here goes. This is a tune called Beautiful Love. You're All a Mystery. All right. Alone Together? Oh, it's called Alone Together. Never mind. Alone together, beyond the crowd, above the world, we're not too proud to cling together. We're strong as long as we're together. Alone together, the blinding rain, the starless night, we're not in vain, for we're together. And what is there to fear together? Our love is as deep as the sea. Our love is as great as our love can be. And we can weather the great unknown if we're alone together. Alone together, beyond the crowd, above the world, we're not too proud to cling together. We're strong as long as we're together. Alone together, the blinding rain, the starless night, We're not in vain till we're together. And what is there to fear together? Our love is as great as the sea. Our love is as great as a love can be. And we can weather a great unknown if we're alone together. If we're alone, if we're alone together.
Big applause! Yay! I'm hoping our audience can truly
Oops.
see, can truly hear just how spectacular your voice is, even on a Zoom call.
Oh man, this is so weird. I have never experienced singing like this, and I hope I don't. I mean, in some ways, I hope that we can get together and do it in like in person because I love to see you.
And
Yeah,
likewise, absolutely likewise. But listen, speaking of that, because really you moved to Burnaby to continue your studies,
yeah,
and then Shruti, COVID hit.
yeah. Oh wow.
Let's talk about
I
like
don't
how
even.
has that been for you? My
Oof.
goodness.
I don't even have words. I don't even have feelings to fathom this, like the gravity of the situation sometimes.
Yeah,
And it's different for everyone. Yeah, and I'm really grateful for the things that I do have, which is a roof over my head, a means to stay safe, and
yeah,
a
absolutely.
lovely community to share my anxiety with.
Well, and you know what's interesting to me is up until recently you were playing at a club, right? And then effective, by the time this airs, it will be last week. But currently,
Yeah.
climate has changed, and Dr. Bonnie Henry has closed down all clubs. And one of the
Yes,
clubs that, in particular, that you were working at,
that's
playing
right.
playing your music. So let's share that experience with our
Yeah,
listeners.
I just recently started, putting myself out there. I'm new to Vancouver still, so I'm just like trying to get to know the music scene, right? So I was just like, I came across like this thing, and I was like, oh, this new club's opening up, and it's just a brand new club in Richmond called Number 88. So yeah, it was a club, and I wanted to hire jazz musicians, and I was like, oh, that is unusual. I like that. I'm happy to bring jazz to any venue. So I was like, I went there and I got the gig, and the owner really liked my music, so he was like, oh, I want you to play here 2 nights a week, and I was like, wow, employment in the times of COVID. Wow,
And
what
yes,
are the odds? The
yes.
rarity of this is. So I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna like have a blast, play with my pianist friends. I was getting together in a duo setting and like playing with like in a cozy way, like so not many people, and we're um, making sure that everyone's safe, which is the primary concern, right? Or
Mhm. Was it
so we're trying to.
people that were coming to the club? Was it busy?
It had just started off, so not a lot of people knew about the club, and I just gotten some friends to, I started promote the event and got some friends to come, and just yesterday was I was supposed to play a gig there, and I hear this news. Like I wake up and I'm like, I guess I'm unemployed now. No worries. I guess as a musician, not a lot of people are employed. So I was like, oh, I got a chance to do this. I got a chance to play like maybe 4 or 5 gigs there already. So I was like, that was refreshing, like a breath of fresh air in the stagnant times of no live music, right? I was like, yeah,
Yes, yes, indeed.
but
A little
yeah,
bit heartbreaking, but also you and I had a conversation last week in preparation for
yeah,
today's broadcast, and we were talking about life at home, and you haven't been home to see your mom and dad.
yeah,
Okay, would you mind explaining? A lot of our listeners are not familiar with what's happening outside of our four walls, our communities. We don't really know what's going on. But
yeah, that's right.
Canada's taking a COVID very, very hard. Would you mind sharing your perspective with us?
Yeah, well, excuse me. I think my phone was trying to do things. Anyway, um, the whole thing in India is so it's just starting to get bad. So early off we thought, hey, India's for as big a country that it is doing really well. And we were like, oh, this is confusing. And then it just like its peak was way in the timeline of things was way after, say, Canada or the States or other countries. But yeah, things are just starting. It's only yesterday I think India had the most amount of deaths in a day recorded in the world due to COVID, and also it
And how
kind of
many deaths was that?
surpassed.
Do you know?
Sorry.
Sorry to interrupt you. I'm just curious about how many deaths you heard yesterday as the
I try not to remember these numbers.
oh
It
no
just
no.
makes me,
It's so
yeah,
painful.
it's, yeah, you try to like desensitize yourself because, yeah, my parents live there, so it's a reality for me. Every day I wake up, I'm just like, oh, I hope they're okay, right? They're okay. So,
So where do your parents live and
uh,
how are they going working through this?
my mom is an HR, so she like gets people jobs. So she was working full time before all of this, and now both of them are at home, not employed. So
Mhm.
it's hard financially as well. But luckily we're good enough. Like we have a house in Bombay, and they've been safe. They have been at home for the last 6 months. They haven't left the house. Um, you just have to do what you have to do. And I was like, yeah, I was like yelling at them over the phone, being like, do not get out. If I find out that you were socializing with someone, you will find the worst version of me. Um, and I think my parents are a little bit like, they're like, yeah, okay, you're 23 now. I guess we should listen to you. I mean, they always listen to me. So they've
Our
been
kids
home.
really never are we should let our kids tell us what to do a little
Yeah,
bit more. It
sometimes.
doesn't really hold water for very long for sure.
Yeah,
You are right about this. If they are at home and to see the worst version of you would, first of all, I could still imagine that to be quite a lovely thing to see, but nonetheless,
but I
it's
never get mad
we
at my
just have to
parents.
be so careful. How old are your parents, give or take, around about?
This is a funny thing also that I need to talk about, which is I refuse to acknowledge the years that my parents are born in. So for years now, they've tried to tell me, hey, I'm born in this year, and I seem to not want to remember it. So I always tell my viewers, well, that my mom's 40 or something. No, she's almost, well, I'm 24 now. So adding 23 to that, she should be 48, 49 or something. My dad's like 54 or 55 or something.
So that's the right age
Roughly,
for all
roughly.
of it. And by the way,
I
I
like to
know that
think that
you're
they're
not
young.
there because you're only 24, but trust me, I'm up there. I just celebrated another milestone this weekend, and I gotta
Nice.
be honest with
Yeah,
you.
happy birthday again.
Thank
I
you
keep
very
saying
much,
that.
but that's not the reason I brought it up. The older that we
Yeah.
get, that we're like great wine, the better that we get, right? So
No,
it's
that is true. I
oh,
mean, you are the example. So are my parents. My dad's just keeps getting better at singing. He also loves singing, which is really
oh,
fun.
you must miss singing with him, hey? When was
Yeah.
actually the last time you saw your parents?
Over 2 years ago, like the first year of being in Canada, I was like, oh, I'm homesick. I need to go home. So it's expensive to go home. So I decided to go just like immediately the first summer after I got here. Um, and then I was like, oh, we can't do this every year because I need to like make some money over the summer, get a job or something, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah.
And I was like, okay, so it's fine. Things will be fine. If I don't go home for a year, I'll be able to see them anyway next year. It's fine. So I put it off last year. I was like, it's gonna happen, no big deal. And unimaginable things have happened after that. So it's like no one would have seen that coming. So I didn't know I wasn't gonna go home, and now I didn't go home. But yeah,
And the
I'm gonna graduate soon, so I'll see
that
them.
we have technology like we do today, just as people are listening to CHLY 101.7 FM and this broadcast via Zoom, the reality is at least we can see each other. I mean, I remember even 5 years ago, 4 years ago, we didn't have the ability to do FaceTime in the way that we have. So the good news
Yes.
is, even considering this transition we've gone through and a very
Yeah,
difficult one at that, at the
that's
end
right.
of the day, thank goodness that we have the technology that we have. Even if it isn't always kind to us, it's still, we're able to spend this time. And do you find that, speaking of a technology, in talking to India,
Yeah.
is there a lot of glitches in the system as far as
Oh,
transmission? Is it pretty good overall? I
I
mean,
mean,
we're living out
it
there in
is
the
frustrating.
metropolis city, right? It's not a
Yeah,
third world.
the
It's a
internet
metropolis city,
connectivity is high because like it's Bombay. It's like thriving. The people are doing things all the time.
of
It's
course.
like, but like it's still not as good. I mean, when glitches happen, you get frustrated because you don't get to see them very often. And in the middle of a conversation when the flow gets broken, you're saying something important, and then it's just like, oh, connecting for like the next 30 seconds, and then you hear their voices. And whenever that happens, I get frustrated, but then again, I'm like, what if I was born in the 19th century right now? Like, I should not be whining about this, like, at
Yeah, we
all.
call that, it's like a first world problem, right? And so,
Yeah, it's so
how
like, oh, I would be, I don't know, sending a letter or a pigeon carrier. I don't know. It
exactly.
would just, what if my bird died on the way? Like, my parents would have never heard from me. It's like, it's just, like, it's so crazy, right?
Exactly. Exactly. I hear exactly
Wow.
what you're saying.
Yeah.
What do you found has been the most challenging part for you in delivering your music or in studying or in getting, in being, is being connected to your music through COVID? Have you noticed there to be any particularly difficult strains?
Yeah. Everything has changed for me, I think. Musically, like every aspect of my life, because I think everything connects to music in some or the other way.
Yeah.
One being importantly, my mental health is very, very, very connected to
Yes.
music. It can make or break it.
Yes.
So the whole not having the opportunity to hear music or play with musicians was definitely like a huge blow on me. I was like, okay, yeah, I mean, this is something. This is something I'm gonna take a while or never. I'm never gonna get used to it. Um, and the whole you practice with yourself. It's like, well, making music requires sometimes the beauty of music is there are two brains involved or multiple brains involved, and everyone has their own creative energy to bring,
Mhm.
right? And just me being with myself, sometimes you limit yourself in sometimes you need a boost from your fellow musician and things like that. So like it's a very symbiotic kind of relationship, I would say, with the community of musicians. It's like we all need each other very, very desperately.
It's an art form in such a way
Yeah,
that it's, if you think about the colors of paint coming together to create a painting,
yeah,
music very much is the same way with, the various different textures.
yeah. I often say this is music or jazz music in particular is like having a conversation. So if I'm speaking my piece to you right now, that's me singing the melody, for example. And if and at that point you're playing the role of the piano, like you're saying yeah and you're acknowledging what I'm saying, or you have little quips to add, that's what the piano does. So like there needs to be someone acknowledging what I'm saying, you know what I mean? That's literally what I miss. And also the fact that I'm in the last final year of university this year,
Sure.
and it's a music program, so it's kind of crazy that it's now transitioned online for most part. It's just one of those programs that needs
That physical, yeah.
physical
But
connection.
I'm also curious because I do see on so many television programs where Zoom has been the communication of choice or Skype,
Right.
one of these kinds of modalities. And they have, just like you and I have right now, as although our radio listeners are not able to hear this, you will be able to hear this broadcast on YouTube. But we have the two pictures, but you see these musicians that have like 10 pictures and 12 pictures and 20 pictures.
Yeah.
These great, beautiful instrumentalists coming together. And I'm
Yeah.
curious how they do that because I have some very close friends that live in New York and Washington and Seattle and
Right.
Vancouver, and every weekend we meet. And one of my best girlfriends is a jazz musician as well. And she just plays a wicked piano. She just is amazing,
That is awesome.
amazing pianist. So every weekend we will often together, the five of us will sing. And of course I can't sing
Right.
anyway, so like don't expect anything to happen. But the five of us will have something going on. And we sound horrific because these little windows don't match,
Yeah.
lagging. And I'm just so curious, like how do they make these
So
incredible pieces?
it's crazy because there's two ways to go about it, and both involve a lot of hard work or a lot of little tiny details. So if people were to record on their own with their own mic setups with a video setup, they would have to sync the video that they got on their phone or whatever, camera or whatever, and then the audio that they recorded through the setup, like the official setup,
Yeah,
merge both of those, and then send it to this one person who'd probably be editing the entire thing. So say if it's an orchestra or something, so he's probably editing all these like maybe 50 or 100 hundreds of different videos all all of them to line up and all of them to look pretty, and you know, it's kind of like it's an insane amount of work if you go that route. And if you're trying to play like live together at the same time, that requires you to have a certain kind of software that will cut out the lag so you can play together. But that doesn't work if you're far further away. Like if you're trying to collaborate live with someone in India, say, so the lag between the audio getting there is like higher compared to say someone that lives in the same city or whatever. So it just gets more and more complicated as trying to do that stuff. Also, it's not the natural sound, right? Everything's going through a system, so you can manipulate how you want it to sound in some ways. So I find that it's half the truth of how it could be,
Well,
but it's like a glimpse of
I
what it
have
could.
to say the talent component of it just blows my mind when I see it all come together
Yeah,
as perfectly as it does.
I wish I was technologically savvy, but I just am not. I've just spent so much time, I don't know, doing acoustic things.
But I'll tell you what you are. You are musically savvy. And so I think it's about time that we listen to a second tune. Ladies and
Oh, that'd be
gentlemen,
nice.
you have tuned into Act 3 on CHL 101.7 FM in beautiful Nanaimo. We are part of Vancouver Island University, Malaspina Radio. And so by all means, we are wanting to share the joys that this beautiful community has to offer. And what better way than to do that with one of our own. Did you graduate from the program here at VIU?
Uh,
Shruti, is that correct?
I did 2 years there, and I transferred on to Capilano. So I'm in my final year now. Hopefully, I will graduate in a year or a couple of months.
But
I
still a
don't
work in
know.
progress with much of
Work in
it coming
progress.
right out of our own hometown. And that's the reason why I wanted to be sure that we bring this conversation to the table. VIU produces some extraordinary, extraordinary talent. Shruti Rumani is with us. Thank you, Shruti, for joining us, darling. I can't wait to
Thank
hear your next tune.
Thank you, Kathy. You're wonderful. I will try to make this technology work. I'm sorry to all the viewers for the error on my behalf. It's
I
just,
think it's great. I think we're just so fortunate, like I said, and for those that are listening in their car, truly this is a great experience. You're getting to hear the root sound of this beautiful voice coming through the Zoom technology. And it's just as beautiful as live, although it's better live, truth.
ah, yeah. Thank you so much. I feel so relieved. And yeah, I think we're good to go, sort of.
Alrighty. What's our next tune?
It's called Sophisticated Lady.
Ooh,
It has
ah,
beautiful lyrics. I hope I can do justice to the song at the moment. I find myself flustered. Okay, yeah. This one's called Sophisticated Lady.
1, 2, 3, 4.
They say into your early life romance came, and in this heart of yours burnt a flame that flickered one day and died away. Then, with disillusion deep in your eyes, you learn that fools in love soon grow wise. The years have changed you somehow. I see you now. Smoking, drinking, never thinking of tomorrow. Nonchalant, diamond shining, dancing, dining with some man in a restaurant. Is that all you really want? No. Sophisticated lady, I know you miss the love you lost long ago. And when nobody is nigh, you cry. Yeah.
I love that. That's so beautiful. Who wrote that?
Good question. I should know that.
That's,
I do not.
it's okay if you don't. Are you, speaking of writing, are you writing your own music now? I know you were for a while. Are you still writing, or have you sort of changed a little of that? Or tell us about that experience.
I'm still writing. I'm actually. Oh, I just wanted to look this up for you because Sarah Vaughan has sung. Who wrote Lullaby Birdland? It's called George Shearing, by the way. George Shearing.
Beautiful.
Beautiful songwriter. Yeah, I'm so sorry I had to interrupt you there.
That's okay. Oh, you can interrupt me anytime.
It would be sad if the viewers didn't know. But oops. Yeah, I'm sorry. We're going back to what you said.
We're all good. No worries at all. And you know, that's the beauty of live radio is that we get to
Yes.
enjoy, you know, the whole premise of it all, right? So,
Yeah.
so we were talking a little bit though about you writing your own music, and I'm
Yeah.
just curious if you're still doing that or what's happening for you there.
So I'm writing. I'm in still trying to write and make my own niche, sort of with like year-old Indian classical music that I kind of associate with jazz, so it becomes more palatable. Kind of brings two worlds together, you know.
Hmm.
So I'm been trying to write. I'm actually going to release my first album real soon. So I have been writing tunes for that, and I'm very close to finishing. And I've asked some really fabulous musicians to do this with me. Um, but
I'm so
I
excited for you. When is that to take place? And tell us about that. That's incredible.
Yeah, so the concept's kind of called, it's like confluence. It's like where two rivers meet, or duality of sorts. So like two worlds coming together is the idea. And it's year-old Indian classical music that I've arranged in a with jazz harmonies. Yeah, it's like so. I wanted to release my first album before I turned 25, which is going to be July of 2021. And I was like, I have all these things that I want to put out to the world, and I've taken it slow. I'm like, oh, I want to practice, get better. I want to practice, get better, and the, um, that's always been the goal. But I was like, I need to stop, breathe for a second, and like leave a mark of where I was at this stage in my life, and I will not regret it, hopefully.
You will
So I was like,
definitely not
yeah,
regret it. You will definitely not regret it. And if I have anything to say about it, it'll be all over airtime wherever I could put two
oh,
bits. Like how
thank you. Yeah,
fabulous.
that will probably, I don't know. I'm happy to bring like Indian culture into the audience here, and all my musician friends are really into Indian classical music themselves. Like they have an appreciation for it, and I feel that's such a beautiful thing to welcome someone's culture like they do here in Canada.
So, so
Makes you want to make it your home, and yeah.
I mean,
So I'm excited.
we're very blessed in Canada to be able to have.
Oh, someone's
This is Kevin. For those that are actually watching this and not listening to it, my dog Kevin has just appeared on the screen. Hello, sweetheart. You know, part of being Canadian is really respecting and admiring the cultures that
yes,
everybody brings to the table from all over the world, and that's what makes us really so uniquely rich. Uh,
yeah,
but what I think that for me in your music and your style of music is that that blend together has got such a natural and organic sound to it, and it's unusual and yet it's very comforting and calming.
oh, thank you.
It's
That's such
it's
a
just it's
beautiful
very
compliment.
very peaceful, and so I quite like it. Now, in all fairness, I've always had a preference for Indian music. I love the sound.
Yeah,
The instruments are unusual. They're not quite the same as our traditional
right.
jazz instruments,
Yeah,
but at the same time, they still have that worldly kind of classical piece that makes it
yeah,
So, so still traditionally jazz.
Yeah, you're right. They're so similar. It's crazy. So much of jazz music is very like the fact that I learned Indian classical music just helped me kind of um, get used to jazz in a very friendly way. It wasn't oh my god, this is intimidating. There was just some things I understood because well, it's all pitches, it's all shrutis, which is what my name means. It's all notes, and like the understanding of that is there's somewhere the bridge meets, like you know,
I love that where the bridge meets. I think is really a beautiful harmonization in its very self, if you don't mind my saying so.
yeah, awesome.
And I love that the meaning of your name, Shruti. That is
Yeah,
very interesting.
yeah. I don't know. Like, I think my dad kind of predicted this, or or he.
Well, you were saying your dad was a musician. Was your mom a musician as well?
My mom can sing well, so but she never really um, took up music because me and my dad were just like way too into music. Like we were obsessed with music, so she became automatically took the passive role of like critiquing because she has a good ear. She critiques us. She tells us, hey, that didn't sound right. She's got the intuition. She's got all that,
How wonderful. You
and she
must
can sing.
really miss being with her with that intuition.
Yeah, she still like gives me feedback over. I send her everything I do. Like she'll probably watch this interview when it airs, and she
Oh,
knows so much about you.
and I
Um,
just, by the way, you are the best mother in the world. You have the most outrageously fabulous daughter. And I am so blessed to
oh,
know her. And I look forward to you coming to Canada so I can meet you too, because I just want to hug you. Like, just,
oh,
I
Kathy.
think that's
Oh,
so great. Big hearts.
I know that
I
is
am
so warm.
curious about your family, though, in the regards, did you have brothers and sisters that were also musically inclined, or was
No,
it?
I'm a single kid, which makes this so much worse. Is like, oh, they have one child, and she's a jazz musician, um, and belongs to the queer community. Is a part of the LGBTQ community, and I think they've been so. I'm so blessed to have parents that are so open, loving, and their love is truly unconditional. Like it hasn't ever depended on
Mhm.
what I choose to be or what I choose to do.
How
In fact, they've loved me more for it. So,
And because in India, to belong to LGBTQ two spirit community is not
yeah,
always well accepted, as unfortunately around the world it is not always. It's
always, yeah.
getting
People have
better.
their reservations.
It's certainly getting better all the time, but we're a long way from being accepting.
Yeah, and a lot of people are gonna watch this interview to find out. I may have come out to the world on this interview. I did not necessarily think it was important for me to go out there and tell people
Mhm.
um, about it because I'm like, oh, this is me. This is natural to me. I don't need to declare it. So it's just been a part of me. Um, but yeah, it's been things are changing now. Like India has a huge LGBTQ community,
That's
and
great.
yeah, they've been fighting for their rights. There's been activism that's happened for years for India to finally decriminalize um, LGBTQ relationships, and also
Yeah.
they don't consider it a mental illness anymore. So that's a huge stride on the part
I just,
of
I'm just so delighted to hear that. I
yeah,
really am.
it's things to be proud of, Yeah.
Absolutely. And by the way, if this is your coming out to the world, thank you for doing it with me. I'm honored that we get to
I
share this.
mean, hopefully they already know, right? I mean,
But at the end of the day, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, none of that matters anyway.
it doesn't.
I mean, it's that I think that the relationships that people have, the part that bothers me, and I don't want to go too far down that rabbit hole, but the part of it that bothers me is I don't think that we have the right as human beings to judge each other. And I think
Yeah.
the minute that we can stop doing that, the better. But um,
Even more so now in these times is like all you
exactly.
need to do is if you have never been compassionate, now is the time to learn how to do it.
Indeed. And I recently had a conversation with an old friend of mine as well. And she said something that just, hit home as a reminder. Right? We just need to love hard on everybody right now. This is a
Yeah.
difficult time that we're experiencing. COVID is like nothing we've ever seen before.
Yeah. None
Thousands,
of us know what it is, and none of us.
none of us know. But at
Yeah.
the end of the day, and if people have a problem with a person's sexuality, that's their stuff, not yours. You just walk ahead and be you.
Yeah, it doesn't phase me anymore.
Good girl.
Yeah,
to hear that.
I'm it's good to have people that are on your same level, have the same compassion for human beings, are not biased because of you want family is, I think, in my opinion, is made or chosen
I
for
agree.
most part, except your parents. Well, family for me is chosen, so like you accept me for all that I am, like I do for you, and things will be good.
Absolutely. I
We'll
couldn't
get
agree
along.
with you more. I couldn't agree with you more. And that is regardless of whatever it is. It doesn't matter. It's
Yeah,
irrelevant. Whether it's LGBTQ, whether it's the color of a skin, a religion, a faith, a belief, it doesn't matter.
yeah,
Just
there's
accept
some black and white things in the world of gray, right? Like we
exactly.
need to Black lives matter. That is something we all should be agreeing with. So to me that's black and white. There is no, oh, but all lives should no. I mean, you should realize what the consequence of saying that is. So
I
if you are a person that understands, or you have the same set of values as I do, then we're good, right? Then we can have a connection of sorts.
and my thought is if you don't have the same set of values as I do, that's okay too, but be
That's
respectful.
okay.
Be
um
respectful. Be kind.
yeah.
Just be kind.
Right. Don't step in other people's shoes, or is that not, that's not the right. Don't.
No, but actually, a very good friend of mine who's also LGBTQ, she taught me years ago. She's been on the program before as
Right.
well. She does a lot of LGBTQ rights, and she said to me years ago over something completely and totally unrelated.
Yeah.
Completely, she said she reminded me, "You don't know what you don't know," and the truth is, we don't know what we don't know, and so
Yeah.
you just can't have that kind of opinion where yours is the only one that matters. Otherwise, what's the point of us having a world at all, right? This is about diversity, right? We
It
all
is.
with our own lens, with our own experience, and so people get the choice to do what they like to do.
Yeah, and I am for a global kind of approach, because all the land that we're living on, we're just humans. I mean, we're not entitled to anything, or the land that we live on. So when someone feels a certain sense of pride in their nationality, I respect that because there's culture behind it. But for me, it's not about borders or where you should live or spend your life, because no one can tell you that, right?
No, I
It's
agree.
just, well, I think we're a little bit ahead of the world right now. We gotta reel it back in. Things are not that easy, but we
But
hope.
the good news is, and this is where I'm hoping that our listeners are relishing from this, is that we're all right now, indicatively, we are right now together in COVID-19, and we have to protect each other.
Yeah,
The lives that we're losing, we're losing to something that's beyond our control. It's
yeah.
beyond war. It's beyond,
I'm glad you're saying this. Yeah, I hope that, yeah, listeners that are tuning into this, those are words of wisdom. You should tune in more often. You never know what quips of life Kathy is gonna
oh,
throw at you
so sweet.
that are relevant. That's like, absolutely right. I totally second you on that. I've been seeing people been behaving a little bit out of their, in a lot of cases, a little bit more frantically, or more, what do you call that? Unpredictably,
Yeah,
off late. It's like, oh wait, you never get this angry, or you don't troll people on social media. What are you doing? This is not you, right? I've seen that in my friends. So I guess
yeah.
my thing would be is to not hold their actions to your heart, because if your friend's behaving a certain way, it's probably because they don't know how to cope with all this that all of us are coping with.
Exactly. And you pointed out when we first at the top of the hour, we were talking about music being a part of your mental health and being
Yes.
able to have music as a conduit for, working through difficult times is really where we are today. And today's show is to really use music as a way for us
Right.
to take a breath when we need to take a breath. You are listening to Act 3 on CHLY 101.7 FM. My guest today is the wonderful, miraculous, terrific Shruti Rumani. And we're going to
Thank you,
hear
Kathy.
her third song right now. I'm very excited to hear
Oh
what
yeah.
she's going to play for us next. And while she's just teeing that up, I just wish to remind you that this show airs every Monday at 1 o'clock. If you would like to be a guest on this show, please feel free to reach out to me. I would love to talk with you. You can find me at Act3 Media shruti.productions@gmail.com. If you're interested in being a part of the program, I'd love to talk with you. In addition to that, I encourage you as well to watch for Shaw Spotlight. Although we're a little bit behind schedule, we're still working towards the technical side of putting our new television program to air. Hopefully between middle and end of September, it will be up and running, but we'll see how that goes. We're there. We're almost there. It's going to be a great show, so please make sure you tune into Shaw Spotlight. In the meanwhile, I am so glad to have in the Zoom booth with me Shruti Rumani. Shruti, honey, how are we doing with our third song? Are we ready to roll?
We're ready to roll, I think.
Let's rock, baby. Okay, let's jazz.
This one's called, yeah, let's jazz. This one's called Lullaby of Birdland, which is one of my favorite tunes. Let's hope everything is in place. Let's see. Oops. Lullaby of birdland, that's what I always hear when you sigh. Never in my wordland could there be ways to reveal in a phrase how I feel. Have you ever heard two turtle doves bill and coo when they love? That's the kind of magic music we make with our lips when we kiss. And there's a weepy old willow, he really knows how to cry. That's how I cry in my pillow. If you should tell me farewell and goodbye, lullaby of birdland, whisper low, kiss me sweet, and we'll go flying high in birdland, high in the sky up above. Oh, because we're in love. Ba-ya-do, ba-ba-ya-da, da, 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 da. Lullaby of birdland, that's what I always hear when you sigh. Never in my birdland could there be ways to reveal in a phrase how I feel. Have you ever heard two turtle doves bill and coo when they love? That's the kind of magic music we make with our lips when we kiss. And there's a weepy old willow, he really knows how to cry. That's how I cry in my pillow. If you should tell me farewell and goodbye, lullaby of birdland, whisper low, kiss me sweet, and we'll go flying high in birdland, high in the sky. Flying high in birdland, high in the sky. Flying high in birdland, high in the sky up above. All because we're in love. Yeah, that was that.
That was awesome. Thank you so much, Shruti. I love your voice so much. It's so, and coming through that microphone, and even through it's a Zoom call, even though it's got its technical side, even though all the clarity and the crispness of your tone is just, for me, is just absolutely so stunning. Listen, I want to be, we're getting close to the end of our program. I can't even
That's
believe
right.
we're already there. It shocks me that we've gone through this
It
stuff.
feels like hanging out, doesn't it?
I know, and that's why I love it. It's like, let's, you and I are sitting back having a cup of tea. It's just, it's the best. And so I'm so grateful that you're here. Kevin is grateful too. You heard her just chip off in the background.
Yeah, I think he liked the song, maybe.
Does actually, yeah.
That's good.
My dogs are boys' names, but they're girls. So
Oh,
it's Bobby Wilson and Kevin. I know, and they're both little girls,
okay.
years old, and they're
I
funny.
quite like that.
I
I
do
don't. I believe names should be agendered. I mean, neutral.
think so too.
Yeah.
It comes back to my son though, from when he was a little boy. We, as a family, my husband and my son and I, we kind of had this thing that we did that with all the animals. They always, if they were boys, then they had girls' names. If they were girls, they had boys' names. And don't ask me why.
That's cute.
Long story short, however, I am curious about, I know that there's more than one instrument that you play. And so I'm just curious, how many different instruments do you play at this point, hon?
Um, I play a couple of things, but like it's like it's almost like I'm jack of all trades, master of none. I'm just kidding. It's not like that. But voice is my main. I've been learning the saxophone for a year now, or I've been learning it on my own. I play the piano. I play the guitar. I I play a couple of Indian instruments here and there. I play the flute, like the bansuri, which is a wooden flute. Yeah, but I think my main is voice, sax, and piano at this point. Yeah, I just want to like dig in, just like practice. I've
Well,
been learning the drums as well, but we'll see when that happens.
I
Yeah.
think we're gonna have to do some lessons. You're gonna have to teach me how to play so eloquently.
I'll
Saxophone
do anything to just hang out with you.
always been one of my favorite things, but I have a guitar that I love that I think I know three chords on. It's terrible.
That's
Anyway,
good. That's a good start. That's most pop songs for you right there.
that's true, but the strum, I keep doing the same strum. It's like one down, up, down, up, down. Like I need some more. I don't have your talent. I have an entirely different skill set, and I'm grateful for my skill set. But there are times when
You're supremely talented, and I think you're so quick and smart that you learn an instrument in no time if you did
you're very sweet.
work on it. Yeah, I would love to meet you on that,
Well,
with that excuse in
definitely, I
mind.
can't wait till COVID's over, and so we can have a
Yeah,
hug and a visit, and it would be just so great. And I know
yeah.
living in Burnaby, it's a lot different than living here on the island, and you're having to deal with all the traffic and all the different things that
It's a
happen.
little bit
Uh,
like home.
yeah, well, I imagine it is, right? It's probably a little
It's
more chaotic
weirdly,
that way.
still too different, but
Yeah,
compared to Nanaimo, I think it's a little bit closer.
I would suspect it would be. Yeah, for sure. I never even thought of it that way, but you're quite right. It would probably be a lot more like home in that regard.
Yeah.
Listen, because we are at the end of the program, I always ask our guests, it's really important to me. If you were able to imbibe, I don't know, piece of wisdom, a life lesson as it relates to yourself and music, what would you like our listeners to know about that very important piece of who you are?
Ooh, that is a loaded question. I was like, my mind went to a million different places. Um, I think whatever your passion is, like I said, my music is very related to my mental health. And in some ways, that is the biggest tool or blessing in my life, which has been there are so many things that are out of our control. We're in a pandemic now. Crazy, right? So I don't know much about the universe. I don't know how we landed up here as a species. I don't know anything. What I know is I have these tools to express those feelings of I don't know anything. Like what I do know is I can bring joy to someone else. I can, yeah, being creative is a big part of keeping your brain going, and there's that, in spite of whatever's happening around you, it kind of keeps you grounded. So my quip of wisdom is to not give up something that you're passionate about, because everyone has these periods of lull that they don't progress in that certain skill set that they have. They've hit a wall, and that wall can last for a year, maybe it can last 2 years, and it often feels like you want to give up. But I would recommend that you not, because it can be something that would bring bring you joy and make your mental health better in all ways possible, I would say. And to musicians in general, I would be like, this is the one way that we connect with each other, so that it should be purely about making music and no other human reservations that, reservations people have about each other. It's
Yeah.
not, shouldn't be a part of music making. But yeah, that's, I don't feel very smart right now because I'm like, wait, I'm in 2020. Do I really know anything? What would I tell the viewers or the listeners right now? I just want to say enjoy yourself. That's all I say.
Well, I have to tell you, I think your words of wisdom were pretty bang on. I certainly have learned from them, and I think that our audience will have learned a lot as well. I'm so grateful that you appeared on the show today. Thank you so much for sharing your
Oh
wisdom.
man, I
Thank
have
you
had a
for sharing your
blast.
your tunes and your sense of humor and just and for every part of who you are. And I just want to thank you, and I know our listeners are really glad that they tuned in today.
I want to tell the viewers to keep tuning into your show. If she blesses me, I might even return someday. And your show's gonna be big. I can see it.
Well,
I'm very excited for your ventures.
thank
I
you so much.
urge all the tuners to come watch Kathy or listen to Kathy, whatever your preference is. Um,
Thank
yeah,
you
stay
so
tuned into Chile and
much.
Act 3.
Definitely stay tuned to Act 3.
Act 3.
Absolutely. Act 3. Thank you so much, Shruti. And thank
Awesome.
you all for tuning in. Whether or not you're tuning in via YouTube at the end of this broadcast, or whether or not you tuned in live on CHLY 101.7 or to our television program that's coming very, very soon, we hope you will stay tuned to Act 3. I'm Kathy Holmes. I'm glad to be your host, and we'll see you next time. Thanks again.
See you, Kathy.
See you, my love.